Snow whipped across the barren landscape like a million tiny needles, cutting at anything that dared to move in the frozen wasteland. The sky was a dull gray, stretching endlessly over the icy plains, broken only by jagged cliffs that rose like frozen teeth. The wind howled like some ancient creature, carrying with it the bitter chill that could freeze exposed skin in minutes. On this world, survival was not a choice. It was a daily battle. Somewhere in the distance, faint and almost imperceptible through the blizzard, a small spacecraft lay half buried in snow. Its hull was scorched, its lights flickering weakly, and its engines long since silenced. Inside, a single alien mother crouched over her child, holding the tiny bundle close against her chest. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dim glow of the dying ship, pale blue with streaks of silver, her elongated fingers trembling as she pressed the infant against her warmth. She was exhausted, injured, and completely alone in a hostile world she barely understood. The ship had failed, leaving her stranded in the endless cold. Her baby whimpered softly, tiny hands flailing as the icy air snuck through the torn walls of the craft. The mother shushed it gently, her voice a soft, melodic hum that vibrated against the metal walls. Even in the harshness of this frozen wasteland, her lullaby was strangely beautiful, carrying a warmth that no fire could provide. She rocked her child back and forth, whispering sounds that no human ear could understand, but that somehow conveyed all the love, hope, and desperation she felt. The mother's eyes scanned the broken interior of the ship, noting the damage and the scattered tools that had once been used to maintain their vessel. She pressed her cheek against her child's, willing the baby to stay calm, but the wind outside howled louder, shaking the ship violently. The cold crept through every crack, and she realized with rising panic that if she did not find shelter soon, both of them would die. Far above the planet in orbit, a human research station detected unusual life signs. The signals were faint, almost lost in the interference of the storm, but they were unmistakable, two distinct life signatures, one large, one very small, moving slowly across the frozen surface. The station commander, Lieutenant Arya Kane, studied the readings with concern. Her team had been exploring uncharted planets for weeks, but this was the first time they had detected anything resembling intelligent life on a world this hostile. She tapped her communicator, summoning the nearest exploration shuttle. "Prepare for immediate descent," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. "Sensors indicate two life forms in the storm. They're weak. We don't know what we'll find, but we have to move fast." The human team on the shuttle knew the risks. Temperatures on the planet's surface could drop far below anything they had experienced, and the storms were unpredictable. Yet, without hesitation, they suited up and prepared to descend. For them, it was not just about science or exploration. It was about life. Humanity had a way of showing up when others would give up, of refusing to abandon anyone in need, even in the most dangerous circumstances. Meanwhile, the alien mother's situation grew dire. Her energy was fading, and her injuries made even the smallest movements painful. The ship's interior was no longer safe. The walls groaned under the weight of snow and ice, threatening to collapse. She pressed the child closer, her own body shivering as she tried to shield it from the cold. The lullaby continued, a low hum that seemed to vibrate through the metal floor, a desperate attempt to maintain some sense of normalcy for the infant. Outside, the storm intensified. Snowflakes struck the hull like tiny hammers, and the wind carried a biting chill that seemed to cut through the very bones. Visibility dropped to almost nothing, and even the most advanced sensors struggled to maintain a lock on the weak life signs. The human team knew they were racing against time. Every second counted, and failure was not an option. Lieutenant Kane's shuttle descended slowly through the blizzard, navigating by the faint energy signatures the station had detected. Inside, her co-pilot, Sergeant Malik, kept a tight grip on the controls. "We're close," he said, voice tense but steady. "I can see a heat signature, barely." The alien mother's ears twitched at a distant, strange hum, a sound unlike the wind or the creaking of her ship. Her instincts screamed that it was a predator, something that could threaten her and her child. She tightened her hold on the baby, backing toward the corner of the damaged craft. Every muscle in her body was ready to defend, but exhaustion made her almost immobile. Suddenly, the hull above her shook violently. A sheet of ice cracked and fell, narrowly missing the ship's interior. The mother screamed, a sound of pure fear and pain, and pressed her child tightly against her chest. The lullaby faltered, her voice cracking, but she continued to hum, refusing to let the baby sense her panic. Through the storm, the human shuttle finally touched down, its thrusters kicking up a small swirl of snow around it. The door opened, and Lieutenant Kane stepped out into the blinding blizzard, her suit keeping her alive but offering little comfort against the relentless cold. She moved toward the faint heat signatures, her eyes scanning for any movement, any sign of life. The alien mother's gaze met the glow of the human's visor. She froze, unsure whether this was another predator or a savior. Her hands instinctively raised in defense, and the baby whimpered in response. The humans were approaching slowly, deliberately, aware that sudden movements could provoke an attack. Kane held out her hands, palms visible, and spoke softly in the universal tone taught to every exploration team. "We're not here to hurt you. Please come with us. We can help your child." The mother hesitated, her body shaking from cold and fear. She did not understand the words, but she sensed the sincerity in the human's tone, the patience in the slow, careful movements. For the first time since the crash, she allowed herself a tiny flicker of hope. One of the humans moved closer, carefully extending a thermal blanket. "We just want to help," Malik said, his voice calm, almost a whisper against the howling wind. "We won't hurt you." The alien mother's instincts warred with reason. She wanted to flee to protect her child, but the exhaustion was overwhelming. She looked at the baby, tiny eyes wide and shivering, and made a decision. Slowly, cautiously, she allowed the humans to approach. The first touch was tense, a human hand brushing against her arm, careful not to grab or force her. The baby cried out, startled, and the mother's arms tightened around it. Kane mirrored the motion, gently wrapping the thermal blanket around both mother and child, creating a fragile cocoon of warmth in the freezing landscape. The lullaby returned, this time mixing with the soft hum of the human's protective presence. The storm was still raging outside, but inside this tiny circle of warmth, life clung on. The humans worked quickly, using portable heaters and insulated panels from their shuttle to build a small shelter around the damaged ship. Every action was precise, every movement deliberate as they balanced speed with care. As the wind screamed outside, the alien mother finally allowed herself to breathe. The baby, sensing the shift, quieted slightly, pressing against her chest. For the first time since the crash, there was a flicker of safety, however fragile. Lieutenant Kane looked at the mother, her eyes reflecting the dim light of the emergency lamps. "You're safe now," she said softly. "We'll keep you both safe. No harm will come." The mother's eyes shimmered with tears, a mix of fear, relief, and gratitude. She did not understand the words fully, but she understood the meaning behind them. For now, humanity had arrived. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside that tiny shelter, warmth began to spread. It was not just physical warmth, but the warmth of compassion, courage, and determination. The humans had come to a frozen world, faced unimaginable danger, and reached out to beings they did not even understand, all to save two lives that could have easily been lost. As night fell over the icy plains, the mother continued her lullaby, now accompanied by the steady hum of human voices. The baby's eyes closed, sleep finally taking over, and the mother rested her head against her child, feeling a fragile thread of hope. Humanity had arrived, and for the first time in days she believed they might survive this frozen nightmare. Far above, the research station monitored the rescue. Lieutenant Kane's voice came over the comms, calm but firm. "They're alive. They're safe for now. Prepare for extraction tomorrow." For the alien mother, tomorrow seemed impossibly far, but tonight, in the heart of the storm, she allowed herself to trust. Humanity had shown up in her darkest hour, and for the first time, she dared to believe in their compassion. And so, in the frozen wasteland, against impossible odds, life endured. The baby slept, the mother watched, and humanity's courage shone like a beacon against the endless night. The storm had not yet ended. Outside, snow lashed against the temporary shelter, but inside, the alien mother and her baby were protected, wrapped in layers of thermal blankets. The humans had worked quickly, using portable panels to create a small enclosure around the damaged spacecraft. The warmth from their portable heaters hummed softly, mixing with the alien mother's lullaby, a fragile harmony of two very different species. Lieutenant Kane knelt beside them, careful to maintain a respectful distance. She had studied countless alien species during her career, but nothing could prepare a human for the raw, instinctive intensity of a mother protecting her child. The alien mother's eyes were wary, scanning every movement, her body tense, ready to spring into action if necessary. The infant nestled against her chest, tiny fingers clinging to the soft blue fabric of her clothing. Kane spoke softly, almost as if trying not to startle them. "We're not here to hurt you. We only want to help. You and your baby are safe now." The mother's ears twitched, and she tilted her head slightly. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was calm, steady, and caring. Slowly, she allowed herself to relax a fraction, though every instinct told her to remain on guard. Her eyes never left the humans, and her hand stayed firmly over her child. Sergeant Malik joined Kane, carrying a small medical kit. He knelt on the opposite side, carefully examining the mother for injuries. "She's badly bruised, maybe a broken rib or two." "The baby seems fine, just cold and scared," he whispered. "We need to stabilize her before we move them." The alien mother hissed softly at the human's approach, a sound of warning. Her body shifted protectively over the baby, making it clear that she would not allow anyone to touch her child without her permission. Kane and Malik froze, respecting her boundaries. This was not fear of humans alone. It was the primal instinct of a mother whose child's life depended entirely on her. Kane held up her hands. "We just want to help. No sudden movements. Look, see the blanket. We can share warmth without touching you or the baby." She carefully demonstrated, wrapping a portion of the thermal blanket around Malik's arms, showing that they could provide heat without forcing contact. The mother's gaze softened slightly. She still did not trust them, but she saw that the humans were patient, careful, and willing to respect her limits. She shifted just enough to allow the warmth from the blanket to reach her child, and the baby let out a small sigh of relief. Time passed slowly in the shelter. The wind outside was relentless, but inside, the humans and the alien mother were locked in a tense, fragile rhythm. The mother hummed her lullaby continuously, the sound vibrating softly against the metal panels. Kane listened, fascinated. There was a strange beauty to it, a melody that carried both sorrow and hope. She had studied alien music before, but this was different. It was alive, powerful, and deeply emotional. Malik checked the mother's injuries again. "Nothing life-threatening," he said quietly. "Just bruises, maybe some minor frostbite. She's strong, though stronger than she looks." The mother's ears flicked at his words, though she did not understand them. Her attention remained on the baby, and Kane realized that words would not be enough. Trust had to be built slowly through actions, not language. Kane spoke again, her voice soft and rhythmic. "We know you've been through a lot. We want to help you get off this planet safely. Can we do that together?" The alien mother hesitated. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to escape into the storm. but she was weak, her body trembling from exhaustion and cold. She looked at the humans and saw no aggression, only determination to protect and save. Slowly, she gave a small nod. It was the smallest gesture, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. Kane smiled gently. Over the next few hours, the humans worked to stabilize both mother and child. They applied heated pads to her bruised ribs, gave the infant warm fluids through a small feeding device, and monitored their vital signs. The alien mother remained tense, but she allowed them to act, observing every movement carefully. She learned quickly that the humans were careful, precise, and most importantly, compassionate. As the storm continued outside, Kane and Malik shared stories of humanity. They spoke softly about exploration, survival, and the value of life, careful not to overwhelm the mother with words she could not understand. It was not the language itself, but the tone, the patience, and the rhythm that conveyed meaning. The alien mother listened, her eyes reflecting curiosity and the beginnings of trust. Night fell over the frozen landscape, and the storm showed no sign of stopping. The humans built a small heat shield outside the temporary shelter, a barrier against the wind and snow. It was not perfect, but it was enough to keep the temperature just above freezing. The mother hummed her lullaby again, a low, soothing sound that mixed with the gentle hum of the human heaters. The baby's cries became less frequent, the tiny body finally relaxing against the mother's chest. Kane watched in awe as the humans and the alien mother found a fragile harmony. Here, in the middle of a frozen, unforgiving world, life endured through trust, patience, and compassion. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the storm. The snow outside shifted violently, and the temporary shelter shook. The mother's body tensed immediately, shielding her child. Kane and Malik froze, eyes scanning the blizzard for any threat. It was not an animal, there were none on this planet, but the weight of snow and ice could be just as deadly. The humans moved quickly. Kane grabbed one of the portable support rods and reinforced the shelter, while Malik cleared snow from the edges. The mother watched, her eyes wide, realizing that these strange beings would risk themselves to protect her and her baby. Something deep within her began to shift. When the immediate danger passed, Kane spoke softly. "We're here. We're not leaving you. You're safe." The mother's gaze softened. For the first time since the crash, she allowed herself to believe that they might survive. She looked at the humans, her eyes wide, searching for any sign of deceit. There was none. They had risked the storm, worked tirelessly, and respected her boundaries. They had proven themselves in ways words could not. Over the next few hours, the mother began to mirror the humans' actions. She shifted the blankets to provide warmth more efficiently, allowed the humans to adjust the heaters, and even began to hum in rhythm with the soft mechanical hum of their equipment. It was a small gesture, but it was a bridge between species, a fragile connection built on mutual respect and shared survival. Kane observed this carefully. Humanity had always excelled in moments like this, where strength alone was not enough. It was empathy, patience, and ingenuity that allowed humans to thrive in the most hostile environments. And here, in the middle of a frozen wasteland, those qualities had created a fragile oasis of life. The storm began to lessen slightly as the night wore on, though the wind still howled outside. The mother finally allowed herself a brief moment of rest, leaning against the humans' makeshift shelter. The baby slept peacefully against her chest, its tiny body finally warmed and safe. Kane and Malik remained alert, knowing that danger was never far on a planet like this, but they also allowed themselves a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had reached life where no one else had dared, and they had proven that humanity's courage and compassion could make a difference. As dawn approached, the storm's fury began to subside, revealing glimpses of the icy landscape beyond. The mother lifted her head slightly, her eyes scanning the horizon. She did not understand the world around her, but she had begun to understand the humans. They were not predators, not threats, but allies, strangers who had risked their lives to ensure hers and her child's survival. Kane knelt beside her once more. "Tomorrow, we will get you off this planet," she said softly. "We will make sure you and your baby are safe." The mother's eyes reflected a mixture of gratitude, curiosity, and the beginnings of trust. It was fragile, like the thin ice covering the frozen plains, but it was there. She hummed her lullaby one last time, this time with a note of hope threading through the melody. The humans listened, their presence steady and unwavering, and for a moment there was a fragile peace in the heart of the storm. The baby stirred and the mother adjusted her hold, rocking it gently. Kane and Malik exchanged a glance, silently acknowledging the bond that had begun to form. It was not just survival that had occurred tonight, it was connection. Across species, across worlds, empathy had bridged the impossible. Outside, the storm clouds began to thin, revealing the pale light of dawn over the endless ice. Inside the shelter, life endured, fragile but unbroken. Humanity had arrived in the coldest, harshest corner of the galaxy and had proven that courage, ingenuity, and compassion could save lives. And for the alien mother, for the first time since the crash, there was hope, a small, fragile flame that promised tomorrow would be better. She did not yet know the humans' full capabilities, nor the challenges that lay ahead, but she had seen enough to trust, to believe, and to survive. For the baby, warmth and safety were no longer distant dreams. They were here, tangible, created by beings who had come from the stars to rescue them. And in that small, fragile circle of light and heat, the first threads of an unbreakable bond began to weave between humanity and alien life. The frozen world outside was still dangerous, still unforgiving, but inside the shelter, hope lived. And as the mother hummed, the humans listened, ready to face whatever came next together. The storm had finally begun to fade. Dawn spread a pale, cold light over the frozen plains, illuminating the jagged ice cliffs and snow-covered expanses. The wind still carried a sharp bite, but it was no longer relentless, and the blizzard that had raged for hours was weakening. Lieutenant Kane and Sergeant Malik worked quickly, assessing the terrain for a safe route back to the shuttle that had carried them to this frozen nightmare. The alien mother stirred, lifting her head slightly. The baby slept against her chest, tiny fingers clutching the folds of the thermal blanket. Her skin still shimmered faintly, pale blue streaked with silver, but the injuries that had caused her so much pain were slowly easing thanks to the humans' care. She regarded them with a new understanding, a cautious trust that had begun to grow in the hours of shared danger and compassion. Kane knelt beside her once more, keeping her voice low and calm. "We need to move soon," she said. "The shuttle is waiting and we can get you both to safety. Are you ready?" The mother hesitated, instinctively shifting the baby to protect it from any sudden movements. Her eyes scanned the horizon, alert and wary. Then, slowly, she gave a small nod. Kane recognized it as the most meaningful gesture, the silent agreement to trust. It was fragile, but it was enough. Outside the makeshift shelter, the humans moved efficiently, setting up a small path cleared of snow. Heated mats and portable panels marked a safe route, minimizing the risk of slipping on hidden ice. Malik checked the baby's vitals one more time, ensuring that the child was warm, calm, and ready for the short but dangerous journey to the shuttle. As they began moving, the mother's steps were careful but deliberate. She balanced the baby against her chest, feeling the warmth and security that the humans had helped provide. The snow crunched beneath their feet, and every gust of wind reminded them of the fragile line between life and death in this frozen wasteland. Kane stayed close, matching her pace, while Malik carried the portable heaters and equipment. The alien mother glanced at them, realizing that humanity was not just strong in technology or strategy, but in empathy, patience, and courage. They risked everything to protect lives that were not their own, and in that moment she understood something she could not put into words. humans were extraordinary. Halfway to the shuttle, a sudden crack echoed across the ice. A hidden crevasse revealed itself, thin layers of snow covering a deadly drop. The mother froze, gripping the baby tightly. Kane's eyes widened and Malik immediately assessed the terrain. The path was no longer safe. They had to find a way across or risk falling into the abyss. Kane moved first, scanning the ice. "We'll build a bridge," she said. "There's enough debris and panels from the shelter. We can make it safe." Malik nodded, and together they began laying down the panels, securing them with whatever tools and ropes they had. The mother watched intently, her ears flicking at every sound, but she did not panic. She understood that these humans were careful, methodical, and fully committed to their safety. The baby stirred, sensing the tension. The mother hummed softly, her lullaby blending with the hum of the portable heaters and the faint metallic sounds of construction. Kane's voice joined the rhythm. "Almost there," she whispered. "We've got you." After several tense minutes, the makeshift bridge was complete. Kane extended her hand to the mother, who hesitated briefly before stepping forward. Her movements were careful, every step measured, the baby secure against her chest. Malik followed close behind, providing support and ensuring the bridge held. They crossed safely, reaching the flat expanse leading to the shuttle. Relief washed over them all, but the danger was not yet over. The storm might have waned, but the cold was still deadly. Kane could see frost forming on the mother's skin and in the baby's tiny fingers. She motioned for the alien to move faster, and the mother quickened her pace, guided by instinct and the human's steady presence. The shuttle came into view, its thrusters already stabilizing it for takeoff. Kane ran ahead, opening the cargo ramp, while Malik guided the mother carefully inside. The interior of the shuttle was warm and bright, a stark contrast to the frozen wasteland outside. The mother's eyes widened, taking in the unfamiliar environment, but she remained calm, realizing that safety had finally been reached. Kane and Malik helped her settle onto a padded seat, adjusting the thermal blankets around both mother and child. The baby stirred again, then relaxed as warmth enveloped it. The mother's hands smoothed the blankets, a silent gesture of gratitude. Kane watched her, knowing that trust had been earned, not given. As the shuttle lifted off, the mother pressed her cheek against her baby's head, humming once more. This time, her lullaby was different. There was no fear, no tension, only relief, hope, and an emerging sense of connection. Kane listened, captivated by the beauty of a melody that transcended species. Humanity had arrived, and in doing so, they had bridged a gap that no words could cross. During the flight, Kane monitored the environmental controls, keeping the temperature steady. Malik remained near the mother, offering water and reassurance. The alien mother responded with small gestures, leaning into their presence, allowing them to care for her child. Every movement, every careful touch, reinforced the fragile bond that had been built in the heart of the storm. Finally, the shuttle reached orbit. From the windows, the planet stretched out below, a frozen world of ice and snow, harsh and unforgiving. The mother looked down, her eyes reflecting a mixture of awe and gratitude. She did not fully understand this species that had risked everything for her and her child, but she had seen enough to know their value. Humanity was not just strong, clever, or resilient. They were compassionate, selfless, and capable of extraordinary courage. Kane contacted the orbital station. "We have both subjects safe. Prepare to receive them. The mother and child are stable and warming." Extraction successful. The voice over the comms was calm but filled with relief. Humanity had proven itself once again, not just as explorers or warriors, but as saviors, protectors, and allies. As the shuttle docked with the station, the alien mother stepped carefully onto the smooth metal floor, still clutching her baby. She looked around at the humans who had saved her, her eyes wide and full of questions. Kane knelt beside her again, speaking softly. "You're safe now. You can rest and we'll help you. "You're not alone anymore." The mother nodded, understanding the meaning even if not the words. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, a bond forming that transcended any language or culture. She had been abandoned, stranded, and facing death, but humanity had arrived. They had risked everything to save her and her child, and in doing so had shown her the power of empathy, courage, and determination. The baby yawned, eyes blinking sleepily, secure in the warmth and safety of its mother's arms. The mother hummed one last lullaby, softer this time, a song of peace and hope. Cain and Malik listened quietly, honored to witness such a private and profound moment. In the hum of the shuttle's engines, the lullaby carried a message that needed no translation. Life endured, and connection was possible even across the vastest differences. In the days that followed, the alien mother and her baby were cared for by the humans. Medical checks ensured their health, thermal environments maintained their comfort, and communication began through careful observation and simple gestures. The mother learned to trust humanity fully, and in return, the humans marveled at the resilience and strength of her species. Cain reflected on the mission, knowing that the true success was not measured in technology or discovery, but in the preservation of life and the forging of bonds. Humanity had arrived when others might have left, facing danger, exhaustion, and fear to ensure survival. That was the essence of who they were: brave, compassionate, and unyielding in the face of impossible odds. Eventually, the mother began to hum her lullaby without interruption, confident in the human's presence. The baby responded, cooing and stretching, thriving in warmth and safety. Cain watched the scene, a quiet smile on her face. She realized that moments like this were rare and precious. The combination of life, trust, and courage shining brightly even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. From the shuttle windows, the frozen planet slowly receded, its dangers left behind. But the memory of the storm, of fear and desperation, and of the humans' unwavering courage remained with the alien mother. She had been abandoned, stranded in a world of ice and death, but humanity had arrived. They had sung a different kind of lullaby, a song of hope, survival, and unity that transcended worlds. As the stars stretched out beyond the shuttle, the alien mother held her baby close, looking at the humans who had saved them. In her own way, she understood that this was more than rescue. It was a promise that life, no matter how fragile, was worth protecting. A promise that courage, empathy, and determination could bridge even the greatest divides. And for the humans, it was a reminder of who they were and what they could be. Not just explorers, not just warriors, but protectors, allies, and friends to those in need across the stars. In the silence of space, with the storm behind them and the galaxy ahead, life endured. The baby slept, the mother hummed, and humanity's presence shone as a beacon of hope, proving that even in the most desolate, frozen corners of the universe, courage and compassion could save lives and forge unbreakable bonds.